Well, I got this universal catalytic converter from Eastern Catalytic. It was only like less than $40. It was like $38 from Rock Auto, and it's not an exact fit. Now, my exhaust system, I got the Y pipe from the 305 engine. There's a 350 engine in there though, and the Y pipe is good, and the exhaust pipe is for a 350, and I got the one tailpipe like on the 305 engine. So it's not gonna. I couldn't put a stock catalytic converter to mate the Y pipe up to the exhaust pipe. Now the rest of the exhaust is like either new or brand new or like in really good shape. So all I needed was this catalytic converter, and even with all these adapters and clamps, it's still less money than buying an OEM fit catalytic converter. But the one thing I want to say about this, it's a little smaller, right? But it still does within the spec it wants, and I can actually see through it. That's another thing. And I was thinking that's not too much restriction. And I got these kind of clamps. This goes from I think it's a 2 1/4 to a 2-inch, or and then this adapter. No, excuse me. I think this is a 2 1/2 to a 2 1/4. And then this is a 2 1/4 to a 2-inch, and then this is a 2-inch on both sides, where you could just clamp it together and have equal sized pipes clamped together. Now, I like these things because they come with you can see it right here. This is it's a little bit of like sticky stuff that you put on there, and what that does is when it heats up, it puts a nice good seal on here. Now the other thing is I got the welder, so you know, I could actually weld and grind and then put this clamp over the damn thing and really freaking have it super tight. All depends on how good it comes out. But I want to get this exhaust on this El Camino nice and quiet so I can listen to the engine and figure if I need to have put a cam in there, because I don't think I can get. I can't get out that valve tappet lash problem. It's like. I got the, this is 78, it's got the flat tappet cam in there, and I know when I got the engine, it was pretty much all rebuilt, like the valves, the short block, but the guy had the same cam in it, and it always had a little bit of a lifter tick, so I might put a cam in it, but I want to get it nice and quiet so I can hear, what's going on at the engine, and I figure with these clamps, you're going to get them nice and quiet. I put these on in the back too, between the muffler and exhaust pipe, and also the muffler and the tailpipe. And instead of using those stupid ass bullshit rubber hangers, I put a big ass freaking piece of angle steel, and then I mounted it with rubber. So the rubber is like an insulator between the frame body and where the hanger is, but it's all bolted together. So you can actually hang your whole body. You can actually do a chin up on that hanger, and it's not going to freaking go nowhere. And I like these things because these little clamps like this, I really don't. They can, they usually don't come loose because they get rusty after a while and stuff. But then I think you get a much better seal with these. Now these might run you about $1.75 from Rock Auto, and these might run you like $10-12 or something. But to me, it's money well spent. Because I was thinking I want this thing extremely leak-free on the exhaust, because if you're up there in the wintertime and you're running your heater, and say you got to sit in your car for a few hours with the heater on, you don't want any exhaust leaks coming up in your engine compartment just because you spent $20 less on the freaking clamps, right? Besides me listening to the motor, I want to make sure I don't get asphyxiated with carbon monoxide. And what I'm going to do with this engine, because I got a Demon carburetor on it, I don't have the stock Rochester carb on this thing, on this El Camino. What I want to do is put a 21 plate HHO in this sucker, and that'll really reduce your emissions a lot, and I bet you'll get it to pass the 78 emission standards and probably even 83 computerized emission standards, no problem, without having all those bullshit hoses on there, because this car runs great with the Demon carb. And I got this bullshit thing here too. This is for like a pipe expander, I just check and make sure everything was working on it, put some grease on it, stuff like that. Because if I got to slip these pipes over something that's just slightly out of round, here you got your pipe expander. And the way this works is you just turn it and it'll start doing its thing and opening it up. Trouble is I can't do it with one hand, you know, but this thing opens up as it goes against here. This thing's a handy tool, I'll tell you the truth, man. I got it and I only used it a couple times, but when I did use it, it saved me a lot of hours of fiddling around. There's so many times you pull off some exhaust system and the pipe's a little bit out of round, and that's typically the problem, you know. And you're like trying to get this damn pipe on here, and you're like, now you could cut it with the cutoff wheel and open it up a little bit and then weld it, but then if you got that and if it's just a little out of round, you're good to go. You're good to go. So these are some damn solid clamps. Highly recommend them. I got them on, like I said, I got them between the exhaust pipe and a muffler, and a muffler to the tailpipe, and I got like super heavy duty brackets, but the one part my exhaust leaks, that catalytic converter was on there since, I don't know, late 1980s. And you know, the deal is that it's probably going to be you know, it's rusty. It's rusted out, man. There's nothing left to it. So it's probably the original one from 1978 for all I know. So probably is. So that damn thing, if it's 1970, it's about almost 40 years old. So anyway, these things, you know, if you're buying a regular catalytic converter, it's $100-something bucks. If you're buying one of these little aftermarket jobbers, they're not even 40 bucks from Eastern. And you buy, and I got this crap from Rock Auto, so you know, not too bad. That pipe there, the extension pipe, which I don't know exactly what size I need, but I know it fits from here to here and it goes down a little bit. I'll be able to figure out how to get this in there, no problem, especially with both these kind of clamps, because this kind of clamp goes from smaller to bigger, and this is like for just joining two pipes of equal size. And this kind of clamp is very, very handy to have sometimes. And you know, you can maybe weld it a little bit, and then if you put the clamp over it with this goop that's on there, this is like a goop that's in here, this shit, once that shit like solidifies with the heat, it ain't going nowhere. And it's all stainless steel. Those are made by Walker, so pretty good shit, and a lot cheaper. But this catalytic converter is gonna, in other words, it meets federal standards, but it's not to the specifications right from the factory. That's why it's cheaper. But that's, as long as it meets federal standards, who gives a shit, right? I mean, that's all that matters. And once I put that HHO in there, it's gonna probably, I think the emissions are going to go way the hell down, even without having that Rochester stock carburetor on, or just having a Demon carb. So, you know, kind of found it, you know, I always do things cheaper but better. So I'm just saying, if you're ever going to replace some catalytic converters on these old cars, don't be afraid to use these little universal jobs. Don't even be afraid to use them on new cars, because if it meets standards, it meets standards. And like I said, I can look right through this damn thing. It's like, it looks like it's not much restriction on that in there at all compared to the newer ones. The ones from the factory, I think they go, I don't know how to, you can't see through them, not like that. So, and it's got the heat shield on it. But for the price, man, I'd rather spend $38, $37 than spend $120 for a damn catalytic converter or more. And all this other shit didn't cost, you know, didn't even add up to that much. So, plus I got the clamps, right? So, probably outlast an OEM setup by far. And I don't think it's going to leak, because even though the OEM setup has these flanges and stuff like that, which are, you know, leak proof, when you're putting something like this on here, you know, it ain't going to screw up. And then 10 years from now, this thing, even though it'll be 10 years old, if since it's all stainless steel, it ain't going to screw up. It ain't going to screw up. Whereas if you're getting the OEM with the flanges, they're going to be rusty. And you're going to be throwing that shit away. So that's one of the beauties of freaking doing some of this crap like this from the aftermarket. And I ain't worried about headers or nothing, because this thing's mainly kind of like for towing, loading up the vehicle. Like when I put a cam in there, it's going to be a tow vehicle cam. It's not going to be one of those kind of cams that, even mid-range, it's going to be real low range shit. But I want to get this thing nice and quiet and shit, running like new with it. Also put a high pressure oil pump in it after this shit's done. And buggy should be good for some pretty damn long trips, which I think it is already right now, but I want to get it better.